JP Poll Week 8 edition. These are not rankings. These are power ratings. And let me stress this week, knowing what I'm about to show you, if these were rankings, if this was my AP ballot, it would look much different than this. Much different. But it doesn't, because these are power ratings, and all that matters on a neutral field tomorrow, friends, is who the model would favor over who. That is the order that these teams are listed in. So let's start 25 to 21. We have a situation here. Purdue's back in the ratings. They weren't last week. Wake is there. Texas A&M is there. And they were off. How in the world did they move up, JP? Well, they moved up, not because they did anything, but the numbers moved around, and either some teams dropped below them, or just because you don't play doesn't mean your stat profile and your data profile doesn't change, because other teams you've played did something last week, and that indirectly impacts your data profile. It's really boring to talk about. Oregon State, they're at 22, and Florida State is only down 1. Now, let me explain Florida State to you right quick, because this is where really quickly you learn the difference between a power rating and a ranking. Florida State was at 20 last week, and they lost to Clemson, right? So certainly you would see them bump down in the AP rankings. But here's the thing. We had them at 20, not 5. We had them at 20, and they lost by pretty much the margin we thought they would lose by. That means they were exactly the team we thought they were. So we have no reason to move them. We had them pegged exactly right. In other words, they did what the 20th best team in the country should have done at home against about the 6th or 5th best team in the country. So that's a power rating. All right, moving on. Top 20 time. LSU was not power rated last week. LSU had a really good day or night in Gainesville. You wouldn't know it if you watched this show, but they did. Arkansas is back. I don't care what you say about me. I don't care what you say about the model. It likes Arkansas. Arkansas went up in those mountains, and they got a win against Brigham Young, formerly known as BYU on this show. So Arkansas is back in the power ratings. And again, I apologize to no one. And hold on a second. Let me listen. No, the model doesn't apologize either. Mississippi State dropped 9 spots at 18. Really, I just think Mississippi State's a good home team. The unfortunate task they draw this week is going into Tuscaloosa against an Alabama team that we just drugged for the first 9 minutes of the show. And Alabama's undefeated when we drag them the next week. I think that's just a fact. Kentucky is at 17. Penn State is at 16. What do we do with Penn State? What do we do? You can't go all vengeful. Like Jesse didn't even want them power rated. He thought we should just expel them. He thought we should put them on power rating probation, which of course is asinine, but we had to put them somewhere. So the model dropped them to 16, and I don't feel good. I don't feel overly confident. They're playing Minnesota this week, and boy, do they need a win. We're going to do that game Thursday. Boy, do they need a win. Top 15. Let's take a look. It's going to get treacherous. It's going to get controversial up here. UCLA. Now, look, you notice we have them and Oregon a little bit lower than the AP. Don't worry about it. Going to be a great game. 15 versus 13. Kansas State is the team that intrigues me because they're at 14. And Kansas State plays at TCU this week. And you know that that is one of our best bets of the week. I think Kansas State is winning outright Saturday against TCU. Not to put a spoiler alert on you, but I think that they are going to win outright. I don't like the spot for TCU at all, and I conversely do like the spot very much, even on the road, for Kansas State. So let's keep our eye on that. Because it's you notice we've got TCU power rated ahead of Kansas State, and they're at home, right? So if this is who would be favored against who, it makes no sense that I would pick TCU over Kansas State. That's true in a vacuum if both teams are rested. But there are situational scheduling dynamics here that end up, in this case, overriding the small point gap that we see between TCU and Kansas State. And that sounds like word salad, and it kind of is, but it kind of isn't. There are little chunks of meat inside the salad, and so that explains that. Ole Miss is at 12. Schedule gets really, really tough for him or for them starting really this week. Oklahoma State's at 11. All right, top 10 time. We got TCU at 10. I just kind of explained that to you. All right, Utah and USC at 9 and 8. USC tomorrow would probably, according to the model, be like a 3/4 of a point favorite over Utah. So it essentially has them as the same team. Clearly in the rankings world, you would have reason maybe to put Utah ahead of USC, even though it's still 2 losses versus 1 loss. We don't care about any of that. Model only cares about who it would favor. And there is certainly nothing that a 1-point loss in their building does to prove that that team should be power rated ahead of you. That's not the way power ratings work. I'm also not advocating for this to be the way the playoff is selected, so you can save that. Texas dropped 3 spots at 7. You know, Texas, there were a couple of opportunities for them to just lose to Iowa State, and whether they lost or not, the model sees the performance, and it says, all right, let's back off of them just a little bit. They go to Oklahoma State this weekend. That is a really, really big game. And Clemson is at 6. I think that they dropped, not because they dropped. In fact, I think Clemson's power rating number went up a little bit. It's just that someone else's went up a little bit more. Let's take a look at the top 5. We got Tennessee at 5. We haven't really had to adjust Tennessee and Michigan a whole lot because, as you know, as recently as 3 weeks ago, we were getting made fun of for having Tennessee and Michigan up inside the top 10 and up inside the top 7. The model knew. Don't know what to tell you. The model knew, and now everyone does. So Tennessee's at 5. I should have gotten you the number. It would favor Michigan slightly against Tennessee on a neutral field today. All right, here is the adjusted 3 through 1. We got Bama at 3 now. They dropped another spot. Georgia's at 2. Ohio State's at 1. Currently, the model would put Ohio State -4 versus Alabama, neutral field. It would be Ohio State -2 versus Georgia, neutral field. Georgia favored by 2 against Alabama right now. Here's the interesting part. In some of the futures markets, you can already bet Michigan at Ohio State. And the number is Ohio State -10.5. Our numbers have Ohio State 10 points better than Michigan on a neutral field, which means with the game in Columbus, our model would make it more like Ohio State -13 or so. Truthfully, I think that number's too big. I don't think the gap between those two teams is that large, but the model disagrees. And, you know, I don't have to agree with the model. It's kind of like a marriage. You don't have to agree on everything, but we are, the model and I, we are equally yoked where it counts the most, okay? And that is power ratings forever over rankings. There's the top 10 of Week 8. Alabama, the lowest point they've been all year, at number 3. Tennessee, the highest point they've been all year, at 5. Very, very simply, for anyone who asks, and you may be new to this, I'm sarcastic about it, but you may be new to this whole concept. How could you have Bama behind, or how could you have Bama ahead of Tennessee? They just lost to them. They went into Knoxville. They were favored by 9 points, I think, at kickoff, right? In Knoxville, okay? So that would be up around 12 or 13 on a neutral field. That result does not shave 13 points of value off of those two teams, respectively. So if they were to play neutral field tomorrow, I know this comes as a shock to you guys. Bama would still be over a touchdown favorite, even with the most radical of adjustments. Now, you'd probably bet Tennessee, and that's your prerogative. We're not even predicting winners. We're just predicting what numbers would be. That's it. So that's how they're still power rated above Tennessee. Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure to leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.